Make summer more delicious with Whole Foods Market, where there's something for every adventure. Get ready for road trips with wallet-happy snacks, sparkling waters, and sports drinks from 365 by Whole Foods Market. Taking a staycation? Make it count with wild-caught fresh sockeye salmon, beef kebabs, and sirloin steaks for the grill, plus sweet and juicy summer fruit like sugar-kissed melons and organic cantaloupes. Don't forget fruit-filled pies for dessert. Summer your way with Whole Foods Market.
It's another Q&A edition of Optimal Health Daily, episode 2204, and I'm Dr. Neal Malik. Hey there, happy Friday, and welcome to another Q&A edition of Optimal Health Daily, where I answer your health questions related to fitness, diet and nutrition, and more. You send in the questions, and I answer them for you. And we're now giving away an Optimal Living Daily workbook to you, free of charge, if you send in a relevant question. So, be sure to send one in before we run out. We can only do this if your address is in the US for now, but we're happy to send a digital version if you're outside of the US. You can email a relevant health-related question to health@oldpodcast.com. Now, before we get to today's question, once a month, usually during the first Q&A episode of the month, I mention a bit about my background and credentials so you can better understand where my perspectives come from. And given this is the first Q&A of the month, it's time. So, why do folks call me Dr. Neal? Well, it's because most folks don't know how to pronounce my last name. So whenever I'm teaching students, they'll say, Dr. Malik, and so I just said, you know what? You could stop right there and just call me Dr. Neal since that tends to be easier. Now, how did I get my doctoral degree? Am I really a doctor? Yes, I actually do have my doctoral degree. It's in public health, which is similar to a PhD. Now, I also received my master's degree in public health, and to really cover all of my bases, I also became a registered dietitian nutritionist. I'm also a certified health education specialist and a certified exercise physiologist through the American College of Sports Medicine. Now, I have been teaching in higher education for over 15 years, and I'm currently faculty within the California State University system. I've published peer-reviewed studies. I presented at national conferences and have been interviewed by over 70 different media outlets for my expertise on basically all the things I talk about on this podcast. Now, this isn't a humble brag. All of this is to say that when I provide my commentary after each episode and I answer the questions you send in like today, I hope you feel as though it's coming from a place of truth. My only intention is to help you feel your best. So finally, with that, let's hear today's question as we optimize your life. Today's question came via email. Tom writes, what can I do about IBS without taking medication? Thank you so much for taking the time to send in your question, Tom. In my experience, it seems as though the rates of IBS are increasing. Again, this is just my experience, but according to some studies, IBS, which stands for Irritable Bowel Syndrome, anywhere from 10 to 25% of the U.S. population has it. It does tend to affect those that were assigned a female gender at birth more often. Now, no one really knows what causes it, but it's believed that IBS is related to oversensitivity of the nerves in the gastrointestinal tract. Now, diagnosing IBS can be tricky. This is because IBS symptoms are so similar to other common problems like the stomach bug or food poisoning. So symptoms of IBS, since we're talking about it, can range from excessive gas to bloating, cramping, and periods of diarrhea or constipation. I should mention that even though the symptoms sound similar, IBS is different from other gastrointestinal diseases like Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. Those are inflammatory bowel diseases, which are again different. Now we're learning that there are lots of things that can help with managing IBS, like managing stress, exercising regularly, getting enough sleep, as you mentioned, Tom, medications, and of course, diet. So when it comes to managing IBS without medications, there are options. I would say one of the most promising options is diet related. The one I recommend you discuss with your doctor is called the low FODMAP diet. This is a restrictive diet, so there are foods you'll need to avoid, but luckily it's temporary. This diet has been shown to be very helpful for most that suffer from all forms of IBS. There are different subcategories of IBS. I won't go into that here. And again, luckily, the diet can be followed in the short term, It may not require you to follow this eating pattern for life. Plus, again, there are other IBS therapies, so if this one doesn't work, there are other options you can discuss with your doctor. I have recommended the low FODMAP diet to many folks, and they often experience relief in just a few days. Research, luckily, does seem to support this as well. So what does low FODMAP mean anyway? I remember when I first heard the name, I was like, you mean low food map, right? We're talking about a map of foods you can eat. Nope. FODMAP is an abbreviation for fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. That's a mouthful. Basically, these are fancy names for different types of sugars found in foods. For those with IBS, these sugars in particular need to be reduced or completely avoided. This is because they are fermentable by the bacteria in the gut. For those that don't suffer from IBS, these sugars that I just named, the ones with the fancy names, don't cause any problems. But for those with IBS, it can lead to all those uncomfortable symptoms like gas, bloating, abdominal pain, and diarrhea. By avoiding foods that contain these fancy-sounding sugars, oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols, you may start to feel better. So the next logical question is, where do I find foods that are low FODMAP? This is where it gets a little tricky. Because these sugars are common in so many foods, the list of foods to avoid is kinda long. I'll list some of the foods to avoid here, but I encourage you to download a list of low and high FODMAP foods to keep with you. A great resource can be found on Monash University's website. Just type Monash, M-O-N-A-S-H, low FODMAP in a search engine, and it will pop up right away. Then click the High and Low FODMAP Foods link. So again, here are some general recommendations using a low FODMAP approach. Fruit. When it comes to fruit, try and avoid stone fruit. These are fruits that contain a pit, like plums, peaches, nectarines, cherries, and mangoes. Apples, sadly, are a no-go as well. Vegetables. Onions, leeks, mushrooms, and cauliflower should be avoided. Most importantly, avoid beans. Grains. Try and avoid anything with wheat in it, so you may need to purchase gluten-free for the time being. Dairy. Foods that are high in lactose, which is most dairy products, will typically cause symptoms to get worse, so it's best to avoid milk, ice cream, and soft cheeses. Yogurt could trigger symptoms too, so if you want to be really careful, avoid yogurt. But there are some folks that do just fine after consuming a small amount of yogurt. Meat. Try and avoid processed meat because sometimes one of the FODMAPs gets added during processing. Also, some marinated meats can cause problems. And again, because this is the marinade itself, may contain one of those sugars that can trigger symptoms. Nuts and seeds. Seeds are usually safe, but pistachios and cashews tend to irritate, so stay away from those. Sugars. Lastly, high fructose corn syrup, honey, and sugar alcohols tend to make symptoms worse. The trick is, try and avoid these foods for 2 to 6 weeks and see if your IBS symptoms improve. If they do, fantastic. Along with guidance from your doctor, you can then consider reintroducing some foods to see if any discomfort returns. Hopefully it won't, and that means you can probably consume these foods again. With time, if you follow this pattern, you will have a much better idea of how your body responds to these foods. And if you can write down the foods you eat, when you experience symptoms, and so on, it will help you and your doctor find which foods are most likely to cause problems.
Make summer more delicious with Whole Foods Market, where there's something for every adventure. Get ready for road trips with wallet-happy snacks, sparkling waters, and sports drinks from 365 by Whole Foods Market. Taking a staycation? Make it count with wild-caught fresh sockeye salmon, beef kebabs, and sirloin steaks for the grill, plus sweet and juicy summer fruit like sugar-kissed melons and organic cantaloupes. Don't forget fruit-filled pies for dessert. Summer your way with Whole Foods Market.
Keeping your body in shape is important, but it's also important to keep your mind sharp. It's time to level up your focus with Word Collect. Word Collect is my new favorite game. It's a free word puzzle app that starts easy but gets harder as you get better, with over 2,000 levels. Challenge yourself with this fun and addicting brain game that will help keep your mind sharp and grow your vocabulary. Right now, Word Collect is offering you 2,500 coins and 500 gems when you download and play, and I recommend you take them. Even with all the reading I do here on OHD, I've needed the help a few times on Word Collect. This game is as challenging as it is fun. Stop mindlessly scrolling through social media and keep your mind sharp. Just go to the Apple or Google store and search for Word Collect. So, if you're like me and want to get fit with your mind and body, download Word Collect for free today. I wish you all the best, Tom, and I hope you feel better soon. And again, thank you for taking the time to send in your question. Now, if you want to get your hands on our Optimal Living Daily Workbook and have your questions answered right here on the show, send one in. You can email one to health@oldpodcast.com. If you want to send one in via audio, come by oldpodcast.com/ask to record from your computer. Or you can do it the old-fashioned way and call in your question. The number is country code 161 I love OHD. That's 1-614-568-3643. All right, that's another Q&A edition of Optimal Health Daily. Thank you for listening every day and all the way through. I hope you have a great start to your weekend, and I'll see you back here tomorrow where your optimal life awaits.